all-purpose flour, and a half a cup of rye flour, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of caraway seeds, and you can just mix this up a little bit. That's just mixing the dry ingredients together. And add your butter. 1 stick of butter cut into 1/4-inch cubes. Cut the butter while it's very cold to get the cube shape, and this will require very little pulsing to mix the butter into the flour. And this is the fastest way by far to make a crust. And now about 3 tablespoons of water, iced water. Make sure you don't put any pieces of ice into your crust. Be very careful because it'll just make it really hard to roll it out. That looks good. Looks like it'll hold together. And right onto a piece of plastic wrap, just dump the whole thing. If you want to keep your hands free of dough, just pull the edges in like this. This is such a fast way to make a crust. See, it's not a white crust, not by any means. It is a darker crust tinted by the use of the rye flour. And then flatten this into a nice even disc. And this has to be chilled for approximately an hour or even longer. And we have one right here that's ready to roll. Use a little bit of bench flour. And I would suggest using all-purpose flour for rolling. Rye flour is a little slippery. And what we want to do is get this rolled out to a 13-inch round. Keep moving the dough and roll primarily in one direction. When I'm going back and forth, I'm not putting any pressure going the opposite direction. It's always the pressure in one direction. That will enable you to get an even thickness to your crust. And excess flour like that can easily be brushed off with a nice Chinese paintbrush. Properly made, the crust should be easy to roll out without cracking. And we're going to roll this up on our pin. This is an easy way to lift even the most difficult of crusts. So now you want the crust to be tucked under, but you have to kind of even it out. And just use a pair of regular old scissors that should be in your kitchen drawer, marked kitchen use only. There'll be a little bit of trimming. And that looks good. And then what I do is tuck this under all the way around. We're going to chill this again and blind bake it, which means pre-baking it before filling and baking again. It ensures that the crust will not be raw underneath a very moist filling. So this you just want to do in a rough, beautiful crimp, 2 fingers, 1 thumb. You want it to be pretty. It's part of a quiche's appearance, that it's pretty. So there, chill that well. So now for lining your chilled crust, and this is really well chilled. By the way, preheat your oven to 400 degrees before you start doing this step of paper lining your shell. And you can make the paper work better if you fold it into a shape like this. This will fit very nicely once opened. And you can cut this into a round if you also like it. See how it just makes it fit better into the bottom of the pie shell. But this is even better. If you crimple up the paper really well, this fits so nicely into your pie crust. It's no longer stiff. It's limp and malleable. And then pour in your pie weights. This is an assortment of mostly beans and lentils that we've collected over the years. We have several big jars like this. So this goes right into the 400-degree oven, bake for 20 minutes. Remove the parchment and the beans, and bake about 10 to 12 minutes more. So the crust is beautifully brown. It's ready to receive custard filling. 3 eggs, 3/4 of a teaspoon of coarse salt, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper. Now you add your milk. 3/4 of a cup of milk and 3/4 of a cup heavy cream. You want just enough eggs to set the milk, but not so many that the quiche becomes stiff and rubbery. So I like to strain my liquid right into the crust. I will just pour this right in like that. And then your herbs. This is about a cup mixture of chervil and dill and flat leaf parsley. And just sprinkle these on top. They will find their place with no prodding or stirring on your part. The recipe can easily be adapted. You can add 1 to 2 cups of briefly sauteed or blanched vegetables to the quiche, broccoli, spinach. You can do zucchini. You can do asparagus. You can also add cheese if you like. But try this first. And be sure not to overfill the crust with the custard mixture. It should reach just the top, right under the fluting. So put this right into a 375-degree oven. Bake for 10 minutes. Reduce the oven temperature to 325. Continue baking until golden and set. That's the custard. That takes about 55 minutes longer. Set your timer. Look how beautiful it looks. Quiche may be served warm or at room temperature. To reheat, you can cover the quiche with some parchment-lined foil and bake it in a 325-degree oven for about 15 minutes. So you could make this early this morning and serve it for lunch hot. Now, I would like to serve it with a delicious Dijon vinaigrette. This is just vinegar, olive oil, Dijon mustard, salt, pepper, and a teaspoon or so of sugar. Toss this up, and this is just a crunchy Biv and baby romaine salad, which looks and smells so good.